Switch transfers control to a particular statement based on a value. And really what its purpose in life is to simplify the idea of testing against multiple matches. So you set up the switch keyword, you put in the value you want to test. Notice this is not a condition, right? It's the value you want to test. And then you go through inside a set of brackets, the word case and the different values you want to match against. And then the statements you want to run if it matches against that value. Then the word case again and another value you want to match against and those statements. Repeat that as many times as you like. Now, of the primitive types we've talked about, only char and integers can be used with a switch. Later in the course, we'll learn other types that can be worked with a switch, but of those we've talked about so far, only char and integer types can be used. One thing to note is that a match can execute more than one statement. Notice that under the case there, I don't have the word statement. I have statements, plural, because you can list many statements underneath of that case keyword. And in fact, the way switch works is that once it matches against a case, it will keep running all the statements from below that case all the way to the end of the switch statement. So we have to use the break keyword to prevent what we call falling through. In other words, falling through from one case to the next. We'll see an example of that in the next slide. Now, in addition to matching against specific values, we can also put in a default keyword if we want, which will handle any unmatched values. And all we do is we put that at the end of the switch. We use the keyword default followed by a colon and any statements we want to run there. So let's see an example of using switch. So we have some code here. We have an integer field ival we've set to 10. And in our switch, I'm going to put ival modulus 2. What it says is take ival, divide it by 2, and give me back the remainder. Well, if you divide a whole number by 2, it's always going to be either 0 or 1, right? So it's a great way to just test if a value is odd or even. Right, so what I'll do is I'll have a case for the value 0, right? So all even numbers will have a value of 0. So I'll print out that whatever the value is even. I'm also going to put in a case for 1, right? So that would be our odd values. And then I'll go ahead and put a default in place, and I'll say, oops, it broke. Because we should certainly never see this, the value of this default, right? Because all whole numbers are going to either be odd or even. Right? So if we run this code now, it'll go through, it will take 10, we'll divide it by 2, the remainder will be 0, so it'll match the case for 0. So when I run it, it'll actually print out 10 is even. But what would happen is it would then print out 10 is odd. And then, oops, it broke. Because what's happening is that once it matched on that case of 0, it's now running all the statements below that. So all those different prints and print lines are being run. The way we prevent that is with the break keyword. So what we can do is that at the end of each case block, or each case section, we'll put in the keyword break, which says run until you reach this point and then jump out of the switch statement. So we'll do that for our case of 1. And we'll also go and do that even for the default. The default is the last section, so technically you don't need to have a break there, but it's considered good programming practice. It's especially useful for situations like if you refactor your code and that default becomes an actual case or something later. So it's just a good programming practice for each of those sections to put a break at the end. Right, so now if we run this, we'll take our 10, right? 10 mod 2 is 0, it matches on the 0, and it prints out just the 10 is even. If we take that ival there and say we change it to something like 25, well now we run it. 25 mod 2 is 1, it'll match on that, and it prints out that 25 is odd.